So we know that Romans 3:23 says that we all have sinned. And then the next step on the road is that Romans 6:23 says that the wages of sin is death. But here's what I want us to see tonight for a minute. Sin doesn't only lead to death, sin requires death. It's not just, oh, we sinned, we're going to die. It's that sin demands death. Where there is sin, there must be death. God told Adam in Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 and 17, the first time we're introduced to death in the scriptures, God said that in the day that they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that they would surely die. Now we read it and they didn't drop dead the way that we think of it, right? Because that's all we think of with death is we think of these bodies ending. We think of the heart stopping, the brain stopping. That's what we think of as death. And so we're a little confused sometimes because we read it and they didn't drop dead. And yet if you really slow down and read, everything they had known, everything they had been created in and created for suddenly changed. Something died in that moment. And everything started dying. Go back and just read it slowly. Go back and read Genesis 2 and 3 slowly and discover that the moment they sinned, it wasn't just that they realized that they were naked, it's that everything beautiful became shameful. And what God had joined together suddenly wasn't so together anymore. Sin demands death. And so we say that sin caused death. But I want to challenge that a little bit tonight. I want to challenge it a little bit because there is a death that is greater than the one that sin caused. Revelation chapter 13 verse 8 calls Jesus the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So that means that before we sinned, Jesus died. Right? If he's slain from the foundations, that means he's slain before the world was made, before Adam and Eve sinned. And so there is a death that's greater than the one associated with sin causing it. That means there was a death that defeated sin before sin even brought death to us. The Lamb was slain before the foundation of the world. Before we ever sinned, Jesus died to redeem us from our sin. Before we had gone our own way, Jesus had already bought us back. Before we needed a Savior, He had done the work to save us. And so tonight, I don't want to talk about the death that is caused by sin. I want us to talk about the death that redeems us. Because that's what Hebrews is trying to teach us. There is a death that has redeemed you. Our text says it clearly. A death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant.